Hello, guys. Welcome to another DW live show number 32. This is a biggie, Dom. Hi, Dom. How are you, by the way?
I am very well indeed, thank you. I'm very well indeed. It's very nice to be here, and it's a great Monday so far. How are you?
Yeah. But we had an exciting Friday last week, didn't we, Dom?
Didn't we just? And actually, do you know what? I think as I was thinking about it over the weekend, I think I'm really fortunate that we got the opportunity to do this. Those of you who were keeping an eye on Facebook on Friday will have seen that 5, I think maybe 6 times over the course of the day, Neil went live from the various locations that we were at in London with Paul Black from London Convention Bureau. And we had a hell of a day, didn't we? It was busy.
Crazy, yeah, all over London. I must have said amazing about 85 times on this recorded thing. I'm good. There's going to be a bloopers reel about it. It was I was so bad. And I was definitely sick of the sound of my own voice by the end of it.
Yeah.
But it was really good fun and a really good positive thing to be doing, going out to venues and looking at the tech things that they were offering. And some of the venues we went to were just amazing, weren't they, as well?
Yeah. So we went to. Can we talk about it? How much can we say?
Yeah, you can say, because we were saying.
So we went to 5 venues over the course of the day. We started the day down at Tobacco Dock and had a great show around. The purpose of the day was really to create. We're going to create a video that highlights and showcases everything that's good about London as a hybrid studio. And so we went to 5 venues that have really embraced technology as a result of COVID, or just or because they already had the technology and they've scaled up in some way, shape, or form. And we went around 5 venues: Tobacco Dock, and then we went to the Barbican, then we went to CCT, then we went to IET, the Institute of Engineering Technology, and then we finished the day at Church House. And we saw a whole spectrum of different tech implementations, didn't we?
Yeah, all different types of venues, weren't they? And we met some great people, saw some brilliant tech. Yeah, it was. Look out for the full video. I know we went live and did a few 30-second Facebook lives, but the full polished video, no pressure, Dom, is coming soon.
Just behind me to my right, over the other side of that bookcase, Ed is sitting, already pulling together the footage and already creating a masterpiece. So that'll be out as soon as we possibly can.
Can't wait to see myself on video. Not. Can you just edit me out?
No. You said amazing time. Just for continuity, it needs to stay there.
Anyway, let's get on with the show. So this is, this is a really timely show. We've been wanting to do this for a while, haven't we, Dom? This show's entitled "The Events Industry Fights Back," and it doesn't literally mean boom, boom, boom. It means, figuratively. This is such an important call to action that we need to do, and how we can get the support that the industry needs, to get us revitalized, back on our feet, restarted, whatever way we want to do it. But we're going to be talking to Rick Stainton from the One Industry, One Voice campaign. Rick also works for the award-winning Smile, winner of various CITV awards, CNIT awards. God, there's too much speaking the other day. And that Rick is very much the person who kind of started that campaign and kicked it off. A few months ago, I was actually involved in the first kickoff meeting for that, and then we are also talking to Peter Heath from the We Make Events campaign, who've been involved with the various Light It Red things around London, and they've gotten some more events coming up. And that group as well has also got some traction. So really looking forward to it. I'm going to introduce them in a second, but I know we've got a bit of housekeeping and stuff to do about, as usual, we're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook Live. Wow, I've got them all done first time.
I know. We are across all of them, and we have viewers on all of them. So wherever you are, wherever you're watching, good afternoon to you. I'm Dominic, and that's Neil. Let us know who you are, where you're watching. We are going to do a brief round of shout outs in just a minute. We're going to try and cover as many people on as many of the different platforms as possible, just because I think it's really important to recognize that people are tuning in, that they're here. This is, after all, a show, specifically this one, more than any others, very much targeted at things that are going on in our industry right now.
Yeah, and how you can get involved. So, Dom, I don't know if you're ready for our weekly feature that we've been. I
am indeed.
We've been bringing you guys the last few weeks. So, Dom, what has caught our eye this week?
Let's play the theme tune.
Thanks, Dom. I'm just going to pull up my information. So it's basically, this is from Hannah Williams of Scribble Inc. Limited. Now, Hannah does live scribing at events. And this was done at an event that I was actually involved with for Joe Faraday of Sheer Edge, where I was speaking at. And she was basically live scribing the event. So it was super, super fast, super funny, super quirky. If you haven't seen anything like this, guys, before, try and check Hannah out. She's on LinkedIn. We will put all the details up on the wrap up. But can really embellish events. Can do it. So this was an example of doing it live in an online forum as well. So yes, we just thought that really caught our eye. I mean, I really liked it. Yeah, don't like looking again at myself being scribbled, a picture of myself being scribbled, but there you go.
Which, are you on there? I can't see.
Yeah, I'm the top right.
Oh, so you are. Oh yeah, there you are. Very good. Very accurate.
That's very cool, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll put details about her in the wrap up later on. Correct?
Yeah, definitely. So, do we want to do a few chat room shouts, Dom?
Yeah, we will. So I'll start on Facebook. So first of all, good afternoon, Beth Heath, Paul Butterworth. Nice to see you, Paul. I haven't spoken to you for ages. Let's catch up. Sam McNeil from Song Division. Lovely to see you, Sam. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Mandy Jennings, Sarah Watson, Craig up in Scotland. Hello, Craig. A fight up here is called a square go, and we are ready for a square go. Big love, Delegate Wranglers and all. Jan Denning, good afternoon. Anna Wilson, good afternoon. Jennifer, Amy Nicholas, nice to see you, Amy. Laura Capalabra, Melanie, Mandeep, good afternoon, Mandeep. Mandy Jennings, Sunny Samwell, Mike McGowan, Kerry Harris, Nikki Moore, Ellen Kerr, Fiona McGill. I nearly got it right first time. Fiona McGillivray. Ben Coulson, I'll get that wrong every week. The Reunion Group, touring theatre tribute shows and bespoke music productions. That's an accidental plug. I didn't mean to do that. Please don't do that again. Emma Sheehan, Faye Banwell Wood, Jack Saywood, Julie Scott. Wow, there's loads of people.
Family in.
Wow.
Family are in there.
Maddie Jennings, Julie Scott, Jan again, Elaine Clark, Julie Scott again. Hello, also from Tamworth. I haven't seen Anika yet appear. Neil, who have we got on YouTube? Can you see anybody?
Well, we've got nearly 50 people watching on YouTube. People have said hello is Denise Cunningham, Ros Wilson. Hi, Ros. Nick Thompson. Somebody from Academic Venue Solutions, Jenny McNamee. Nicola Withington, Joanne Horriban. Hello, guys. How are you? Hope you're all fine. Please send your questions and comments in as we go through the show. I think we probably should get into it, Dom, because we've got so much to get through this week.
We have indeed. Should we say hello to our guests?
Yes. So first of all, I'd like to. We're really pleased to have Rick and Peter on the show. Hello, guys. How are you?
Yeah, good to be here. Nice to see you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking some time out to come and talk to us. As I say, I think this is a really timely thing. So just to explain, what we're going to do is we're going to talk to Rick first, and then we're going to talk to Peter, and then we're going to. So guys, ask questions in the chat room as you go along, but then we'll talk to both of them at the end briefly as well. So Rick, obviously I know this for a fact because I was at that very first meeting. The One Industry, One Voice was your baby. It's something that it was your concept and you've pushed forward, and you're very much at the forefront of it now. Do you want to tell us a bit about it? How it got started and what was the thinking behind it?
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all well. So there's some really good campaigns that have been going on and lobbying of government for many months. Obviously, Peter's We Make Events is one at the forefront of them. And there's been a number of elements of lobbying from a number of industry leaders directing to the DCMS and government for about 6 months now, which many people may or may not be aware of. And I felt, and I think a lot of the industries through a lot of the forums and the networking groups that I've been involved in we're asking for perhaps a consolidated approach where the industry came together under a mandate, a collective, where we were able to sort of create some sort of messaging that was clear and conducive to the power of the one industry coming together, which, let's be honest, hasn't happened ever in history of our industry. And I think we've suffered from it from an industry perspective both from a national press perspective, not really getting us, and still thinking we organise jollies with or without ties on. The public, probably in the same vein, that those that aren't fully informed, and certainly the government. And we haven't been taking that seriously. Unfortunately, unlike most other big industries that we're closer to, perhaps whether it's PR or advertising or others, they've had a strong one industry, one voice mandate for decades, and therefore are better understood across the national press, across the public domain, and certainly across government. So anyway, I had a few glasses of red wine on a Friday night, end of July, early August. That's not unusual. And then put forward this one pager in front of a MASH media meeting that Martin and Julian organised called Get Britain Meeting, with a number of sort of associations and industry leaders on it. And I thought I was just there to listen, but Martin, as I walked in the venue, said, "Right, Rick, you're on in 5 minutes." I was like, "What?" And
I can confirm that. I was at that meeting and he did actually say that.
So I had a post-it note with an idea on, and I had to put up on screen to all these people that are probably more intelligent and more established in the industry than I am. Anyway, cut long story short, I basically said, look, we need a positive element to this situation, because there's a huge amount of bad stuff going on. There's a huge amount of freelancers and agencies and businesses and venues and so on in not a great place. And the lobbying and the campaigning is really important, and we're actually, as One Industry on Voice, supporting that in some elements from a data perspective through the BVP, because I asked Simon Hughes once it got going to lead this, actually. So I think it needs to be a non-partisan, non-ego, non-one agency, non-one agency or association led. And the BVP has this mandate across all the main associations for particularly stats and data that they've collated. So I wanted Simon to lead it and BVP to lead it, and I'm sort of more in the background, hopefully now in some respects, but still driving it forward with Simon. And the idea really is that One Industry, One Voice does what it says on the tin. We reached out to as many venues and hotel groups and freelance groups and agencies and brand experience agencies and trade exhibition agencies and organisers, people from the sporting community, the cultural music community, haulage companies, talent agencies, florists, caterers, and all those type of businesses. But also, to get it right, we also reached out to the weddings and the private sector. We reached out to areas perhaps that has not come under the guise of One Industry, One Voice mandate before, for obvious reasons. And I said, look, we need to balance the lobbying. I think there needs to be some sort of longer term, medium and long term demonstration of what actually we do. An understanding, an inspirational message that says, look, government, look, particularly national press and public, this is the expertise that you've got in the UK events industry. We are global leaders. This is what we do. And then through an education piece of stats and numbers, which is important, the press like that, but back it up with inspiring content and a reassurance that we are global experts to deliver safely, because we have in our DNA health and safety and logistics and people management. So the One Industry, One Voice is just an overriding sort of collective of people that have come in from all the different areas I've mentioned, across all the different sizes of business. We've got one-man bands and freelancers and sole traderships up to some of the largest agencies and venues and hotel groups and production companies, AV companies, whatever it might be. We're literally all inclusive, and it's gaining traction hourly, daily. And with that collective of One Industry, we can put together a voice which hopefully is consistent across as many different representative sectors of the industry, so that when the press or government or the public either hear about us or want to learn about us, there is a consistency and a full representation of all these different areas. I know in the past, perhaps freelancers have felt left out and isolated as much as the private weddings and private events have felt associated. And consumer events are over here and business events are over here, conferences here, sporting, cultural. They all share pretty much the same supply base. They share production companies and venues and caterers and haulage companies and freelancers, and they can all work across sector. So why isn't there a collective movement to just get them all together, agree on a few simple principles of approach and inclusivity, and agree on some messages to educate the rest of the country, basically. So we asked them for their views. They came back, each and every one of them, and consistently to consolidate down to maybe 3 key messages: the reassurance, the inspiration, the education. And then we devised, basically from the back of that mandate, now we've got, 500, 600, 700 businesses now. We devised the fact that we wanted to do a PR campaign when the timing was right, under the banner of sort of we create experiences. on that reassurance and education inspiration piece. So that if anything positive comes out of this dire situation that the country, in particular our industry, are in, it's the positive legacy could be that we actually for the first time came together under one movement, and all the different campaigns perhaps sort of were supported by it in some respects, whether it's consistency of data or consistency of messaging, and work together as opposed to perhaps bumping into each other, because they're all credible and they all have a right to do what they want to do and represent the certain areas that they do, including obviously Peter's We Make events, definitely. And the 121 voice is just perhaps an overriding approach to help with all of that, and make sure everyone's represented and the data and the messaging and the stats are right. So linking to our campaign, which will be a medium and long-term plan, is to have this reassurance, inspiration, education under We Create Experiences, because everyone seems to buy in that everyone delivers experiences, not necessarily events. Events is the tool, but experience is what people share, what people remember, and what actually we sell into the industry and the corporates and the other clients. So we have basically a PR agency appointed. We created a fund which has been contributed to from all different sizes and areas of the industry, from the largest to the smallest, and all the main associations are behind it and contributing to it as well. And that PR fund will help us basically create this We Create Experiences campaign with the PR agency, which will deliver, when the timing is right, this inspirational message, this key education piece, to demonstrate what we do, and we're the experts in it globally.
Can I just come in on the other, Rick? So obviously with the news last week, I mean, obviously I'm involved with this campaign, so I know about the PR company being appointed and stuff like that. Has the timing changed given the news from last week? You kind of had to hold back a bit and not push forward like we were probably aiming for that 1st of October date, but change a little bit now. Yeah,
look, timing is key on this. There's no point. About 3-4 weeks ago, things were gaining momentum. The 1st of October was in a lot of people's minds. If nothing else, from a confidence factor, there wasn't going to be a flurry of events in the first few weeks of October. No. But it gave us a roadmap. And obviously the COVID situation, the R number, the infections and so on has risen dramatically since in the last 3 weeks, which has made people, as opposed to now looking forward, they're now looking back, and don't have a roadmap with which to adhere to. And just to be clear, that's for 2/3 of the industry, the business side, the indoor and outdoor side. But from the music side, they didn't even have pilots taking place yet, and didn't have a roadmap or a timing. And the weddings and private industry were only allowed to do 30 and now only 15, which was totally economically unviable, and also had no 1st of October improvement date to do any size. So the 1st of October was a bit of a red herring in some respects, but it was certainly a target of doing something early mid-October. I think now we have to be we're getting ready. We've got a huge amount of high-profile personalities on board, from educational, sporting, cultural, regional mayors, and music people, and other people that names you recognise, that are prepared to support us, do pieces to camera, and so on. We have the content being collated, ready for inspirational digital assets to activate across broadcast, print media, and social media. And a number of influencers as well to target the younger demographic in some respects. But we need to get the timing right so that we're not drowned out and looking really silly, that we're trying to put forward this message that we're ready and open and so on, when people are still completely just worried about even getting out of their houses. So I believe that we'll get ready to pull the trigger around mid-end of October, and then literally on a 48, 72 hours basis, in advice from the PR agency, get ready to explode onto the scene, and target both the business clients as well as the consumers in a progressive campaign. Presumably, at the moment, we're thinking over the first week or two of November, as people looking into 21, what is 21 going to look like versus the horrible year we've had in 20, and that we know the demand is there to go to events. It's massive. It's just reassuring the business community that they can actually have confidence in booking them. But I believe a lot of press will come into early November into looking into 21, and the kickstart everyone wants. I think that could be when we pull the trigger and educate the world.
Just a couple of last quick questions. Does that include lobbying government as well? Government lobbying, personnel, is that included in the campaign as well?
The mandate we've been given from One Industry, One Voice, when there's so many other elements of lobbying going on, either through the BVP direct, industry leader groups, senior advisory groups, and a few of them directing to Oliver Dowden and Nigel Huddleston, as are many other industry leaders. And obviously there are a number of campaigns I've obviously Peter's, and also Let the Music Play from UK Music and so on, that are directly lobbying government, asking for direct financial support, and rightfully so. The mandate that we were given from One Industry, One Voice overriding was a little bit more of a representative, positive message, which, you know, ultimately we're a positive industry, and right now, this day, that doesn't feel like that's an important message. But if we can educate people whilst they're listening, and we can get that inspiration across, then that for us balances also the lobbying, which is obviously specific to industry, specific to certain sectors and specific asks. So we are actually within One Industry, One Voice supporting quite a lot of lobbying. We're liaising with Peter and Let the Music Play from UK Music on consistent data, consistent stats of GDP contribution, sector employments, and so on, so that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet there. I and Simon and many others are doing constant updates to DCMS, and, you know, frankly, let's be clear, the number 10 and the Chancellor just aren't listening still. I wouldn't say that DCMS and BEIS aren't trying hard to get them to listen, and the more consistent data we can give them, the better, because then they actually believe in that data and can get the message across. We've suffered in the past from having lots of different data, which the government just goes, well, what are you? Don't understand. All this is conflicting. So that's how we're helping some of the government lobbying, but primarily One Industry, One Voice was more of a positive collective that represents the wider industry. Sure.
One last quick question, Rick. So what can, you know, everybody's here watching, and I've just noticed like a couple of comments in there, you know, there's a lot of campaigns going around, you know, obviously We Make Events, Light It Red, Recreate Experiences, One Industry, One Voice, you know, all the things. What can everybody do, you know, to actually help and take some action, you know, and make a difference, really? That's the key thing for me. You know, what can actually people do, you know, because you hear a lot of things that you can do. What we want to know is what can we do by contacting you guys or looking you up, you know, what can people do?
Okay, well, let's just be clear, first of all, One Industry, One Voice is not a campaign, it's a mandate. It's a collective of people that for the first time bringing as many different sectors to be listened to and engaged with. So if you want to learn about that, go to oneindustry1voice.co.uk, see the overview, and, you know, and I think it's probably fair to say that Peter may back this up, that, you know, we're working increasingly closely with the other campaigns to have a representation that we can all work towards. The Pacific We Create Experiences campaign, which is, you know, coming in weeks rather than days. If you want to support it through the PR agency fund, if you've got any money spare to contribute it, great. We understand that a lot of people haven't, but there's many other ways that you can support. If you've got any content that you feel best represents our industry, send it over to One Industry, One Voice, or me at rick@smile.co.uk. If you've got any contacts with high-profile personalities, we've got a huge range of them across many different areas of our industry, representing them from sport and music. And as I said, if you know anyone that you think could represent our industry, that works in our industry from a talent perspective or an educational perspective, you know, we've got big CEOs of charities, let us know. And when we do go live, to conclude, which will be, as I say, end of October, maybe first week of November, please support it, like all the other campaigns when they activate. Support it with the hashtag We Create Experiences, because that's the actual specific campaign that we'll be doing then. And, you know, we're trying to get this message across on behalf of the wider industry, and that's the mandate we have, truly cross-representational.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for that, Rick. We have got some questions coming in. I'm just going to chat to Peter for a bit, and then we'll come back with some more questions and comments from people. But brilliant, thanks for that. Hi, Peter. Thanks for your patience.
No, pleasure. It was good to listen to Rick again.
Yeah. So Peter, I mean, similar questions to you. You know, how did the We Make Events campaign start? You know, who's involved with it? You know, what was the thinking behind it?
Okay, We Make Events came about. I run Plaza, the Professional Lighting and Sound Association.
Yes.
And we were working on behalf of our members right from the word go when COVID started.
Right.
And you know, we were doing a number of things, keeping them informed, keeping them up to date, but we felt this wasn't enough, and we started to chat to a number of our members and decided that we'd create a video which covered a large section of our community or our members, so manufacturing, production, rental, and we wanted to try to communicate what was happening to those businesses and that part of the industry. So we created a video. and as soon as the video went out, we got inundated with people who wanted to come and join us and help us. That's how it really started. So at that point, it was a kind of a Plaza-owned initiative.
Yeah.
And then more and more people got involved, and we came up with an event that took place on the 11th of August.
Yeah.
You remember, which it got a lot of tier 1 media, whether that is in the papers or national radio and national TV. So it got quite a lot of exposure. And 11th of August was really about a number of things. People within our membership and people connected with us through our members, it was an opportunity for them to do something, to take some action.
Yes.
So on that particular day, quite apart from what happened in London in the evening, there were 17 regional creative activations across the UK, and hundreds and hundreds of buildings that were lit up in red.
Yeah.
Now, Light It in Red was a separate campaign, and we became brothers and sisters in order to make the 11th of August happen, and that's what it did. We basically wanted to let everybody know what was happening with our sector, and Rick has already said this. It's been decimated since COVID, and we've not been allowed to work, and we still cannot go back to work. So it was about people in the industry doing something what we believed was in a positive way, to try and raise the plight of our situation. And then after the 11th of August, we made a decision, because it was so big, that Plaza could no longer remain the custodian of this campaign. So now the We Make Events is now owned by the members, by other companies, many manufacturers, production rental houses. It's also owned by individuals. So it's now a massive conglomerate of who owns it and who drives it, and what we do. What we do is we make sure that whatever we are lobbying, what our messaging is, we make sure that is absolutely right for our industry, not just our particular sector, but it's also applicable to all the other parts of the industry that Plaza members wouldn't be part of.
Fantastic. So I know that you've got some, this is quite timely for you, because you guys have got a couple of events coming up this week, on the 29th and also on the 30th. Do you want to tell us a bit more about them, and just to clarify what the difference is between the two events? Yeah,
so the 30th was a date that we came up with because many of the people involved with We Make Events and many of our members were already making people redundant in July.
Yeah.
And knowing that the furlough system was coming to an end at the end of October, we wanted to do something else to raise the point that we were going to be in proper dire straits if we did anything. So we put the 30th of September in as a date to have another activation, which is largely what's happening. And that activation now is a global activation. We have 25 countries across the world that are taking part in their own way to support their local industries, as well as support the global position with the events industry. So, which is particularly pleasing. So the whole day will be a 24-hour kind of messaging around the plight of our industry. So we're delighted that we've got 25 countries that are taking part. In between that, other countries who are now part of what we do have had their own activation days. And these are largely days where they are demonstrating to their local parliaments and local people what their position is, which ultimately is no different to ours. Yeah. So the 30th of September is really about that. The 29th is another opportunity and a day that we could have a silent demonstration which is taking place in Parliament Square tomorrow. And of course, all these events are completely COVID compliant, otherwise we wouldn't do them at all. And so it's an opportunity for people who want to take part. They can register, be allocated a place, and be part of the silent demonstration tomorrow.
Now I know that Dom has been putting up the website details and things. We will put them up, and we post something up at the end of the show, well, in a couple of hours, called the wrap up. So we will make sure all your links are on there and everything. So just with going back to the event on the 30th, Peter, what's actually happening on those days? Is it? I know the buildings are getting lit up red again, I think.
Yeah. So
the event you can go along to. Yeah.
So there are since last week, we've had to amend the kind of ask that we have of government, which I'll come on to later. But what we're doing is we're encouraging people to light as many buildings as red as possible. But in addition to that, all the regions around the UK, they will be doing a number of other things, depending on which region it is, during the day. But in the evening, lighting buildings red, and we are going to be putting shining white lights directly up to the sky in order to represent the number of people within our sector who are potentially not going to work until next year.
Right. Yeah. So that should be really visual as well. So if people, want to get involved more with it, obviously I know they can take part in these schemes. Are there anything else they can do? Can they go to your website and follow you guys, or your social media and do other things?
So they can go to the website, which is wemakeevents.com, and they can have a look at all the toolkits that are there that are available. They can register. And by registering, especially if they're a freelancer or part of our industry, it helps us because Rick mentioned getting data. We're also, quite apart from the global data, which is really important, we're collecting other bits of really important data which are specific to parts of our particular sector. So the more people that we have registered, the more the bigger slice of information we can get. So that's what they can do to really help.
Great. Okay. So thanks very much for that, Peter. I'm just going to come back to you both briefly. So Rick first, I just wanted to, just before we go to some questions, Dom, you can line up some questions for us in the chat room in a second. But before that, I'll just ask Rick, what's your current thoughts, Rick, on, the current state, given that announcement last week? Any thoughts at the moment, on the current state of the industry? It's certainly a kick in the teeth for a lot of people, in terms of the date. I mean, you're right. I know you said earlier, it's not like the 1st of October, suddenly we're open, all the venues are full. But at least there was a date for people to be working to. So any thoughts on, following the announcement last week?
I've got two thoughts. I've got the appropriate one and the inappropriate one. Which one do you want?
Both.
Okay. The appropriate one is that obviously, the whole of the country is in a state of shambles and chaos, because as soon as something is potentially looking good, we get knocked back by a second wave, and there could even be a third wave. I'm just saying, this virus is not going away. And I think what Boris wanted and what everyone in government wanted was a relatively quick fix, which was get it out the way in the summer, get it down, and then look really pretty, and then get everyone back to school and universities. And then hopefully there wouldn't need to be any major financial sector specific packages. The furlough scheme would come to an end. It'd all be rosy, and we'd all celebrate Christmas, looking forward to 21. Right? What a load of bollocks. Right? That's just not going to happen, and I don't think ever was, because if you listen to the reality of individuals and the individual stories in industry, specifically ours and travel and tourism and some in retail, it takes months, not days, to get an industry back going. And especially at the same time, when you're knocking the confidence back, when the October the 1st date, at least it gave clients and customers a bit of a roadmap of which they could get back into organising again, which then had a lead up time of a number of months. That's been pushed back. So those that had a bit of a cash flow problem, or quite a serious cash flow problem, could potentially have seen themselves getting some cash flow back towards the end of the year into 21, first quarter. That is pretty unlikely now. And so with the furlough scheme ending, with certain loans and grants ending that are just generic across the sectors, they don't see any positivity. They don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And I think what's now happening through the number of the campaigns that are taking place and the lobbying that BVP particularly and others are doing is, and I must say the 121 Voice has helped this, because what we've done is Peter's campaign and the Music Play campaign and others, we've consolidated in to get some, and it does boringly come down to data. If the government actually going to listen, the civil service actually take us seriously, for the first time, we've got to get the right data with the consistent numbers that are credible and proven to be credible. And then if they start seeing these numbers of 1 million plus employed and 884 billion GDP contribution, they start going, right, I've heard that once, twice, 3 times, and everyone's saying the same now. So that gets us through. It's really boring, but it's actually the way to do it. And the more pressure that could be put on with those consistent numbers, then we might get some sector-specific recognition, and then we might get sector-specific support. And I think for me, certainly from what I'm hearing and what I've been doing with Simon, and I know that Peter's been involved in this in certain areas as well, in the last 7 days, there's been a massive increase in activity and urgency from the DCMS to ask for this data. So I'm very quietly feeling that there is a bit of a change of mood and understanding, though that will take time. That's the appropriate answer. The inappropriate one is probably not broadcastable, but most people are thinking it.
Yeah, thank you. Peter, same question to you. Obviously it was horrible news that we got last week. Took the wind out of everybody's sails. Was it the same for you and the Plaza organization?
Certainly for all the people involved when we make events, it was tragic news, really, because it's just another blow which potentially is going to finish off an industry which we're world leaders in, and it's going to could have been a massive sideswipe to innovation from a manufacturer's point of view, and certainly from a skills point of view, the amount of people who will ultimately believe they need to retrain and go somewhere else. When we do eventually come back to work, we won't have the skill set, we won't have the innovation in order to go out there and retain our position as global leaders, because we're not getting the support. And then you take an example. I'll give you one now from one of the largest production rental houses in the UK. And this is a reference to viable. So when the Chancellor was making reference to viable businesses, how does this stand? So this one company, between March and August last year, they send out invoices for a total of £11.7 million. In the same period this year, it's £70,000. Now, does that mean he's not viable? Does that mean that he can't go and do the little bits on the side that we were given, those little crumbs? I mean, it is truly appalling, which is why we've amended the government ask that we have, and certainly they are supportive of other campaigns. So we are trying to have a collective voice about government asks and, of course, the headline data, because that's absolutely vital.
Yeah, I know we're going to get into the questions, but for me as well, it's a huge missed opportunity by the government. I think if there was one industry and one sector that could have set up, COVID secure venues and events and things happening, it was the event industry, and we could have led the way. That other industries and other sectors could have followed. I find it, we organize people and things for a living, and yet we weren't used to kind of, they thought the pub would be a better way to do that. That's nothing against any publicans, but I just don't understand that. That seems crazy. Anyway, I'm going to get my soapbox.
Going back to work safely is not the issue for us, for the event industry, because we can do it. That's not the issue. Going back to work where it's commercially viable, that I think that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And just to put in perspective, when the announcement was made about a week, 10 days ago on the October the 1st date moving, as I understand it from Simon at BVP, and I haven't got the exact figure, but it was something like £500 million worth of bookings for 21 were well, so we're being cancelled basically, or postponed.
We had a load on our group. Load of people said that, Rick. Load of
Yeah.
people said with that announcement they've just cancelled it and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and it comes down to the sensitivity to Peter's point. Just don't quite haven't sectorized us enough yet and understood the expertise and the difference between people going to Wetherspoons, going to on an aircraft, going to Westfield, and us having the most controlled environment for hundreds of people that can possibly take place.
Yeah.
Right. The difference between those aforementioned examples and a conference or a product launch or an indoor or an outdoor event is not comparable. It's not, because we have the controls, pre-event, track and trace, registration on site. We do it anyway.
Yeah.
And again, I come down to the balance between Peter's lobbying and approach and Let the Music Plays and other campaigns, which are totally right, balanced with an education that we're trying to do from a We Create Experiences perspective. So if you balance those two things together, then hopefully in the next 4 to 6 weeks, both government and the public and the national press, there's a groundswell of not only understanding the plight, but also understanding the opportunity, because we are able to restart the economy. We are able to help and want to help. And there's no lack of demand from consumers. They are gagging to get back. You look at all the pre-bookings for next year's music events or theatre events, that they are sold out, pilot events. The problem is the confidence in businesses and organisers be able to put the money down, knowing that the day or dates of opening may or may not happen.
Time as well, isn't it? It's the lead time. We need a bit of lead time.
Or the brand impact, positively or negative, if a coronavirus breaks out there. Which again, I put back to the reassurance and education piece. So I think collectively under one industry, one voice, and with the various campaigns targeting different audiences, but with a similar, if not slightly aligned message, we're hopefully going to get up to the top level and they can change their minds. They're pretty good at that.
Sure. And I know we can't talk about it, but there might be a little announcement coming in the next 24 hours or so. So my lips are sealed, guys, so look out for that one. Anyway,
yeah.
So Dom, how are we doing in the chat room? I've seen there's been a lot of action.
Do you know what? I actually don't even know where to start, guys. I don't know if you've been looking as well, if you've been keeping an eye on the Facebook group, or I think there's a couple of comments on LinkedIn. Neil, there will be on YouTube as well. I actually don't even know where to start, because there's so many comments. People hugely supportive of everything that's been done. Clearly, there was one question that I picked out. You just have to bear with me because it keeps refreshing. Loads of people saying they're going to support the Light It in Red on Wednesday. William McGee was the last guy who I saw. I think he was from Creative 8. Bear with me.
I found one in the meantime. So the union group has said, it's amazing what you guys are doing, but will Boris listen? And is there anyone getting to him? Is there any way of getting to him?
Well, it's a very good question. But if we do nothing, then nothing will happen. If we do something, there is a chance. So that's why, we are continuing to do the work we're doing, to keep our exposure as much as possible, to keep us in the public eye as much as possible. And the amount of coverage we got last week on Tier 1 media, which is national radio, TV, and papers, was astonishing. The whole events industry, and so we kind of have to keep that pressure up. So the things that we're doing to do is we're going back to government. One of the asks is to say, well, okay, in order that people might put their money where their mouth is to give confidence about events, then you must do something about insurance. In order that if someone's got an event planned and it has to be cancelled because of a local lockdown, we surely must be able to get some protection for those people who are involved in organising that event. So that's one of the updates that we've got for our government ask. So without without that, we are absolutely knackered until social distancing goes away, in my view.
Max Fellow says, in addition to the great share of support from 25 countries in these activation days, the petition is surely one of the most important actions to drive. It forces the topic to be reassessed in Parliament. What the comments on that?
What do you say? The petition, a petition?
Well, there's been lots of petitions, hasn't there?
Lots of petitions, I think. I don't know if he's specifically referring to one. Max, can you clarify if you're still watching? It would be helpful.
I think there is one doing the rounds, which just got to get to 100,000. That's right. I think
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, I think it's pretty close to getting there, if not already. I know I saw something on LinkedIn, and the guys at Smile did it the other day. But I think that's trying to address specifically the event industry's plight and get it debated again within the Commons. Yeah, it all helps. In answer to the previous question, and I guess it relates to the petition, we haven't done ourselves any favors in the last few years as an industry to lobby government for anything else alongside the other industries that have been trying to lobby government for, whether it's sector-specific support across investment, R&D, tax breaks, grants, apprenticeship support, whatever it might be. And we probably had a slow start earlier this year. You know, we didn't have a collective unity of numbers that we could just throw in straight away at the pull of a database that other industry associations had. But what's exciting is we are, in the last probably 3 or 4, 5, 6 weeks, getting to a point where MPs individually are being lobbied, and that's something that you obviously consistently should do. And the announcement you hinted at, which hopefully will take place in the next 24 hours, will enable everyone in the events industry to galvanize under a certain set of numbers and approach, which can then be in one nuclear hit, rather than little fizzles, actually get some traction. Because what do MPs and the government listen to? They listen to about 2 or 3 things. They listen to voters, they listen to public opinion, and they have to listen to the national press, which supports both of those. But more importantly, if the numbers are also right, and we're going direct into government as well, then if they all are consistent across the board, and there's a groundswell across national press and the public opinion, and the government are getting the same input of information, they have a mandate to then take real notice. And I think increasingly that's beginning to happen. And the more campaigns and the more consolidated approaches that cover those 3 main bases, they look very, very silly when over 1 million voters lose their jobs in our industry.
Just going to jump in quickly on that one as well. Something that we posted up on the group recently, I think it came from the We Make Events guys, I can't remember, was the letter to write to your MPs as well, the template. So that's another thing as well, guys. So we'll post that up as well in the wrap up. But that's something that just takes like 1 minute to do. And it's 1 minute to find out your local MPs if you don't know it already. It's really quick and easy. I mean, have you guys been involved in that as well, Peter?
Well, absolutely. So we have templates on the website, which we encourage people to write to their MPs, and there are a number of different templates depending where you are, whether you work in the industry or not, or whether you're a fan of going to events. And whilst we've been doing that, within We Make Events, we have working groups, and one of the working groups is aimed at politics, and they've been incredibly proactive in getting cross-party support from MPs by engaging, by people engaging with these letters and other activities. So we know we have a growing number of cross-party MPs who are supporting our plight, and I think at the last count we were well over 150 MPs that were supporting us. Which has absolutely increased our visibility in the chamber, in the sense of more questions and more challenges to the government.
And the key to that is when you do your letter, probably in your region, in your area, the big venues, the big agencies, the big production companies, the big catering companies, the collective maps, local freelance groups, reference them all, because they do gain a regional traction. The government's, one of the biggest government's remits is to look after the regions. It's always been deemed as London centric, and regional MPs, particularly the furthest away, in the north, east, and northwest, referencing that, because obviously, they are often the least represented from a commons perspective, especially relating to our sector. So reference your venues, reference your local community or local industry, because that really does make a difference in that letter.
Just noticed a comment here from Sunny. Hi, Sunny Samuel, from Sunshine Events. I used the letter and have a Zoom call lined up next week with my MP. Thanks for the template. It really helped. So that's great, isn't it? That's exactly the kind of action that, you love to see. And I think it's a matter of us all trying to pull together. I just wanted to say, I know we've got a couple more questions, but, here in Delegate Wranglers, we've got 20,000 plus members. We're working with both these organizations, you know, to funnel any information or calls to action. So guys, if you can funnel it through the right channels, and we'll give the exposure out, and we will kind of be a hub for that information as well. So, but please go through, you know, for obviously for One Industry, One Voice, go through Rick and the team, and for We Make Events, go through Peter and the team, and come to us, and then we will get that message out. And, you know, together we can help. You know, the 20,000 people is a big swell of people. So let's, you know, if we can try and commit to getting involved, you know, that little bit more than we are, let's do it.
No, that's amazing. Thank you. And just remember that your 20,000 collective community also probably have another 5-10 contacts within certain other associated businesses and regions, which again, one of the most powerful things when you asked both Peter and I at the beginning, what should people do, is leverage your networks, because 20,000 can become 100,000 in a matter of days and weeks with the right template or the right message. And when the wider campaigns are activated, that's the power of our industry. We do actually, as a community, come together very well increasingly because of this situation.
Sure. Any more questions, Tom?
There's a ton of stuff, and I think, gents, I am going to ask if you wouldn't mind just take an opportunity to run through back through the questions that are on there, and maybe asking some of the ones that you can pick up and answer quickly. Sarah said, "Can we get more coverage on this in the news, BBC News, or is that down to a PR firm? What are they doing?" Perhaps one of you could pick that up quickly in terms of what we can expect to see nationally.
Okay, so we've already had quite a lot of national coverage. Coverage last week, certainly after the announcement. We had coverage. In fact, we've had national coverage since just before the end of June, when we went live with a PR company, and the kickoff start for that was around Glastonbury not happening. So that's how we kickstarted our national campaign, and it's been going steady ever since. So whether if we're not on national radio or TV at the time, we're certainly going to be hitting the big newspapers. So we're continually in things like the Times, the Financial Times, and the Guardian. So we are getting exposure, but we've got to keep refreshing the story in order for it to be heard. And we've got to be careful how we refresh the story, otherwise people will switch off and they don't want to know.
All I can say is, from One Industry, One Voice perspective, obviously we've raised now over £50,000 for our PR agency fund, you know, and the amazing contributions from all different areas of the sector has been much appreciated, and more's coming in daily. That firepower is directly targeted at the national press. So when we pull that trigger in the next few weeks, you know, we're looking at both business media, so that's the business section of the business news, and Sky and ITV and Good Morning and all those sorts, as well as the print media as well, and the business sectors are then. And progressively, a week or two later, we'll go for the more consumer orientation, when the sentiment in the country is just that little bit more open to looking into 21. So yeah, it'll come off the back of a lot of the other campaigns that are probably going to happen in the next week, next few days, next few weeks. Going to basically get that. We've got the digital assets right. We've got regional mayors and regional ambassadors as well for the regions, for the regional TVs, which are, as Peter will probably concur, the regional press is as important as the national press, because it actually gets a little bit more coverage and resonates with individual communities. But you do need a strong PR push and a strategic campaign to basically build momentum, get the editors interested, have a hook, have a real message, and with clarity of numbers and data. And as Peter said, you know, the consistent momentum of this towards the end of the year will be really crucial to adding education and pressure on all sorts of different areas of government to change their tack on our viable bullshit definition or unviable.
So Nicky Moore just made quite a good point, which is frustrating. The news outlets seem to think that referencing the hospitality industry covers the entire industry.
We do.
I've seen that happen a lot.
Well, that's back to the education piece. They need to understand what we do, how many lives it touches, and what sort of experiences we deliver. Without that, we'll just constantly get deemed to be under hospitality or jollies, and it's so frustrating. Has been for decades. Totally hear you.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's a ton of questions. We literally can't get through everything here. There's a couple of quite amusing comments in here, which I'm not going to read out. There's a couple which I don't think we can really answer here around the legalities of bringing things back. But what we're seeing overwhelmingly is a huge amount of support for everything that you guys are doing. I'm just going to take an opportunity to put a couple of things up on the screen. So first of all, for Rick, we've got the hashtag which we create experiences. And apologies, Peter, if you sit up a little bit, it won't cut your face off. But for Rick, we've got hashtag we create experiences. And Rick, there was a bit of confusion around the website. So I've got one which is mustbeonit.com/oneindustry1voice. And you also mentioned oneindustry1voice.co.uk. But someone mentioned that one of them is just rediverting back to a Just Giving page. Is that correct?
Go to oneindustry1voice.co.uk. On there is the full information of One Industry One Voice. It then drills down to some information on the supporters. There's a link there to the Just Giving page. There's an overview of what One Industry One Voice's mandate and collective is, and a bit of a description of We Create Experiences campaign, which is up and coming, as I say. So oneindustry1voice.co.uk is the page to go to.
We'll put the links up as well later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will forward everything to you. But if there's time for summary, that would be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have time for summary. So for Peter, for you, we've got the hashtag, which is We Make Events, which I've seen on across all of the social media channels. It's hashtag We Make Events. And then we've got www.wemakeevents.com. www.wemakeevents.com. I saw someone in the comments, this is a link to some what you were talking about, Peter, about light it in red. If you're planning on lighting your building in red next week, is next Wednesday, this Wednesday, I beg your pardon, register your building at lightitinred.co.uk. I've put that on the screen. And then also for Peter, there's a couple of social media handles. So we've got on Twitter, we've got at We Make Events Off, and on Instagram, we've got at We Make Events Official. So that's everything, I think, for each of them. And we will put links to all of those in the wrap up in just a couple of hours when Neil publishes it.
Yeah, sure. So Peter, I know you were just saying about a summary. Do you want to wrap up with a quick summary and, a big quick call to action, what people can do as well, please?
I will certainly go to the website and register there. Of course, continue to write to your MP. If there's time for you to register and support one of the events that are going on tomorrow or indeed on Wednesday, then please do, especially if it's a building that you're going to be lighting up. Also, not to forget what's happening early next week. So we're quite apart from the 30th, which is on this Wednesday. We have two other things. We are fundraising right now for to give money to charities to help individuals who have been hit hard by the pandemic. So that's going on right now. And to also help that, we've got a bike ride, which is taking part. You'll see all this information on the website, where we have a number of cyclists who will be traveling around England to go to various towns and cities with key venues, and trying to get local and regional press involved, highlighting the fact that these venues can no longer work because of the virus, and also we're using this bike ride opportunity to raise funds as well. So plenty going on after the 30th of September in order to keep our campaign running, keep it alive, and make sure that we get the support that we need.
Sure, great stuff. Same question to you, Rick.
Keep a lookout for the announcement tomorrow, probably, or later on today, in the industry press and across the various networks and community groups, which I think will help people understand how we're going to be working together as a community to achieve what we all want to achieve, which is the survival and then hopefully the thriving of our industry into next year. Please go to oneindustry1voice.co.uk to understand what that collective movement is about and what we'll be doing on the We Create Experiences campaign in the coming weeks. And obviously, if you're aware of that, then when we do go live, we'll be sending out a lot of calls to action through the industry press and other community groups to support it. Do support any other campaigns like Peter's before that, and we're all in it together, and that's really important. The power of One Industry, One Voice is all about that. If you do have any contact with high-profile individuals you think are involved in the events industry from a talent perspective or whatever, let me know. because we do have a huge amount of ambassadors prepared to do pieces to camera now across a number of areas. And yeah, just, you know, try and stay positive as much as you can, and keep talking to each other, because there's a lot of people not in a good place, and reach out to them and have a chat with them, whether you're, you know, whether you know them or not. If you see people not having a great time on LinkedIn or social media, then ask them for a chat, see if you can listen and engage them, because you know what, that's what our industry should be doing for each other right now.
It's something, Rick, you know, to be honest, the Delegate Wranglers is all about positivity and looking out for each other and collaborating. So
I know, it's great.
Guys, you know, listen to what's been said today. You know, everything has been said with a positive slant on trying to get us back to, you know, 100%. some kind of working as we were before, you know, whatever that looks like. But let's get behind this, you know, with a real positive attitude. That's what we're all about. We've actually got a thread called the Event Industry Recovery Thread. So guys, anything that you've got, please put it in there. And I would also urge people to read it all the time. And that can be anything from mental health things to things that are going on, or campaigns and things like that. And that's actually pinned to the top of the group. So guys, please make sure you use it. Please make sure you post in it. Check it out. But most of all, you know, stay positive. Let's get behind these guys and you know, move forward as an industry as well. You know, we've got 20,000 people, guys. You know, let's make it. I feel like I'm doing a rally call here. But let's you know, let's really try and make a difference, because we have got those big numbers.
And we don't have a choice.
Dom, any last thoughts?
No, I think this has been amazing. And you can see from the conversation, the comments that are still coming in really quickly, actually. I think we need to go back and try and answer some of these, or point people in the right direction to answer some of these. But I think certainly from me and from everybody that's in and around the events community, thank you both very much for what you're doing. We can't see a particular end in sight to this right now, and it's really difficult to know where everyone's going to be in 3 months, 3 weeks, let alone 3 months, or 6 weeks, let alone 6 months. So thank you both, sincerely.
Guys, thank you.
Right.
All right.
Thanks very much indeed. It's good.
Cheers.
So big, massive thanks to Rick and Peter for coming on the show, and for everybody who's got involved. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, this has been a massively engaged show, loads of registrations. You know, it just shows that we're all pulling, you know, we're all starting to pull in the same direction. So thank you, Dom, as well, to you for doing a great job.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure. Do you know what, Neil? I think there's so many comments in here. There's so much to look back on. I know we normally talk about what's coming up in the next few weeks, but I think actually it's probably appropriate to just leave the show, because everyone knows that we're going to be back next week, and you can publish everything that we've got going on over the next couple of weeks. So I think let's just leave it there for today. I think it's been an amazing show. There's a lot that we all need to do, and there's a lot that we can all get involved in, and today's been proof of that.
It's like EastEnders when they don't have the dumps at the end.
Seriously, it's exactly
a bit more emphasis.
I wish I had them.
Okay, guys, thanks very much. Anyway, really appreciate all your comments.
We will be back. Look out on the group for more information on our next show. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure.